I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order. I'd like to invite everyone to rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Phyllis, can we have roll call, please?
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Matt Dyer.
Here.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Here.
Scott Murray.
Here.
Wiley Sirk.
Here. Okay, we don't have a lot on the agenda, but a couple of the items may take a little time. And the first thing that we have would be an ordinance, I think, that Tim has about, what's it for, flooding?
Flood hazard area.
Flood hazard area.
In 2010, we adopted a flood ordinance. This was something that we needed to do, I think, in part because it's something that's necessary to be eligible for different, and I don't know if it's necessarily eligibility for the various grants that we get through ROD or not, but it's certainly something that DNR and FEMA are requiring of municipalities. They've now updated that ordinance. When we adopted the ordinance in 2010, it was subsequently codified as Chapter 155 of our Code of Ordinances. I received this from Sharon Brown in the Building and Planning Department. Apparently this was sent to Roger right at the transition and kind of got caught up in that, and really was supposed to have been done a couple weeks ago. So when it was brought to my attention, we tried to jump on it and get it in a position where we could bring it to you tonight. I appreciate Rod's input. He looked it over and he had a couple of suggestions. We worked with a representative down at DNR, and she also had a couple of changes. Sharon and Kurt, I think, went through and made some changes as well. So I think it's in a position where we can move forward. And what I did, the Exhibit A is really a kind of model ordinance that we modified. We're attaching that as Exhibit A, and it's attached to Ordinance 2017-7, which basically amends Chapter 155 of the Code of Ordinances. And what we're saying is, in the model ordinance, if something is in our existing chapter of the code that isn't in the model ordinance, we're taking it out. And if something's in the model ordinance that we don't have in our code, we're putting it in. Okay? It's about as simple as I can do it and as quick as I can do it. So if you would, I guess I would entertain a motion to introduce Ordinance 2017-5 on first reading by short title only.
It's number 7.
It just says in
Excuse me,
7?
Number 7.
Yes,
2017-7.
Dash 7, right, okay. I'll make a motion to place ordinance 2017-7 on its first reading by short title only.
Second. I have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2017-7 in its first reading by short title only. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Tim?
Ordinance 2017-7, short title, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Decatur which amends Chapter 155 of the Decatur Code of Ordinances of 2015 as supplemented regarding flood hazard areas.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2017-7 on its first reading.
Second reading. First reading.
This is first reading.
This is for passage. Okay, my pardon. I'll second. I have a motion and a second to pass ordinance 2017-7 in its first reading. We'll have a roll call vote.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Scott Murray.
Yes.
Wiley Sirk.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, I'll make a motion to place ordinance 2017-7 on its second reading by short title only.
second. I have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2017-7 in its second reading by short title only. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Tim?
Ordinance 2017-7, short title, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Decatur which amends Chapter 155 of the Decatur Code of Ordinances of 2015 as supplemented regarding flood hazard areas.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2017-7 on its second reading.
Second. I have a motion and a second to pass ordinance 2017-7 in its second reading. But have a roll call vote, please.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Scott Murray.
Yes.
Wiley Sir.
Yes.
Tim, should we go ahead since
Do we
we're kind of
wanna
late
waive
doing
it,
this
or-
to...
Kurt, you talked to Laura. Is there urgency to get this done and down to her?
She said she could wait a couple weeks.
Okay. So we could go ahead and follow our normal procedure where we table it for third and final reading? Okay.
I'll make a motion to table ordinance 2017-7 for our next
Schedule meeting.
scheduled meeting.
August
on
15th.
August 15th.
Second. I have a motion and a second to table ordinance 2017-7 until our next meeting on August 17th for passage at that time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Thank you, Rod.
Thanks, Ron.
Well done, Wiley.
Thank you.
Okay. The next thing is, might as well take care of this while I got it right here.
Do our minutes?
The Decatur Highland Games event. I brought this up at the last meeting, but I didn't have the paper with me. Sponsorship.
No.
The Chamber has asked the city to be a sponsor for the newly created Decatur Highland Games, which if you've been across the Jackson Street Bridge lately, you'll see that they've actually started creating a field of play back there. So,
If you don't mind, I'll
Cool.
abstain from discussion on that because I have a conflict of interest.
now, they're looking for sponsors, and as we've done here with many other festivals and whatever, we've sponsored them. They have a $1,000 podium gold level sponsor, which puts your name and a logo behind the podium, a couple of radio spots, access passes, website recognition as a gold sponsor, and a sign on the cage.
Also, I found out today that you have there'll be, for 4 weeks, you'll have 2 spots in the newspaper from the Decatur Daily Democrat.
That's for the 1,000 platinum.
Yes.
The 750 podium silver level gets you a couple radio spots, a couple access passes. Everything the same except for you don't get your name and logo behind the podium. The $500 bronze level, you get 1 radio spot, the passes, website recognition, and signage on the cage. And then there's a $300 level sponsor, which gives you just the access passes and a parading sign with sponsor name at the beginning of the events. Would the other levels get that too, Craig? Parading sign, or?
Well, I don't know.
You know, I'm sure they probably would.
The gold sponsors would,
Yeah.
the top 3 would.
And you get website recognition, no radio spot. You know, really needless to say, none of those things are what's important. It's whether we want to just sponsor and how much we can afford. Now, we didn't have a whole lot left in
We
our-
didn't have much left,
I
but
think we were going to look and see if you had something in your...
I think we were too. And I could go get that. Melissa? It's on my desk, and it's a, what's it called? You just gave it to me this morning.
Appropriation report.
Appropriation report. Let's come back to this.
We can pass the minutes?
Nothing wrong with me. You were all emailed a copy of the minutes from our July 18th meeting. Just wondering if anyone would like to approve those minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the minutes.
I think it would be great. All in favor? Aye. Anything else that I've forgotten?
We'll let you know when it happens.
We've just changed the order of business a little bit here tonight. That thing, I got it all written down here. Why I don't follow along with it, I don't know. Let's just stall a little bit here and see if Melissa gets back in here before we go over the budgets, because that's the only other thing I have. Tim, is there anything quick that you could cover right now?
No, I covered as
Covered all
quickly as I did what I'm going to cover.
He did sure. $300 to make a banner, just keep the money. See a banner.
Go Bart.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, they need money to get this
Hold
thing
on.
rolling.
At least we're gonna see how much money I have. Thank you, Melissa.
How much money do we have in that account yet? Do you remember?
In the mayor's promotional
We're
fund,
about out.
I still got all that.
haven't done Cal.
I got all the money.
So we could do it now.
This is just for July, we can spend it to print it for the whole
Yeah, but
year.
this does have,
That's what's not expended.
yeah, we
This
had
is what you
this,
spent.
I've spent this.
I thought you got mine.
We can
Now, are
do
you taking your shelves or whatever, or are you taking that on
office supplies.
Or are you taking your cabinets?
Yeah, out of office supplies, I just turned that in.
Okay.
I don't know if I would be inclined to go to the top level, but I think we could go to the $500 level for no problem out of, and I can pay that out of my, for this first year.
Make a motion to...
I would suggest that they not do the sign and all that other stuff, just use it for...
Not worry about the sign for us, but if it's all one sign, and we're going to, yeah. We'll leave that up to you, Craig. Okay, Craig will abstain from this vote, but if I could get a motion for the $500 bronze level, I think that would be cool.
So moved.
Second? I have a motion and a second to be a bronze podium level sponsor for the first Decatur Highland Games. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We will do the $500 sponsorship, and I'll get that to you, Craig.
Thank you.
Okay, that is all the easy stuff. Now we have the budget. Everybody, did you bring your budget with you? I'm assuming you did. I know Scott's really studied this because his wife told me he did, and so did his son. I'm not going to say when he studied it. It might have been Sunday morning when they were in church, I don't know, but...
I was all the blessings I could.
Okay, just looking at the cover sheet only, you'll notice that the budget's not up that much as compared to last year, and I think that's all due to the fact that our department heads have done a really good job of not putting any fat into their budgets. We are going to have to change a few of these here as we go along with Greg and Les, and also the City Hall. I guess that's where that would come out of, the City Hall, or would that be under the council
For,
for the internet stuff?
I was thinking CCI.
CCI?
Yeah, that's cigarette tax, but we can use it for computers and internet and
Okay.
stuff like that.
So, just kind of set your cover page somewhere where you can refer to it, and we'll go on and go through the budget. First thing up is the mayor's budget. So, I have added a couple of things. I've increased, actually I didn't increase anything except the salaries, which includes my salary and Melissa's salary. A portion of my salary, not all my salary, comes from the mayor's budget. It comes from
Utilities also.
utilities also. Otherwise, I didn't add anything. But it takes my budget, the total budget, from 103,150 up to 105,850, which is a 2.62% increase. Any comments or suggestions? Seeing none, go to the next page. And that would be the clerk treasurer, and Phyllis's is actually tad less. And Phyllis, you can explain why that is.
Yeah, the reason mine's less is we had to budget this year for software updates, and we don't have to buy that this year, so it's $8,300 less.
Yeah.
And I think other than that, the only changes is
In the salary.
printing and advertising for envelopes and checks, increased it to $100, and insurance for our bonds, and
the
a
salaries.
notary renewal, and the salary.
You have in here for a second deputy.
Yes.
Are you planning
Well,
on...
actually, Barb's my second deputy right now. She's part-time. I'm
So
just
that's
using
not
her
part
from
of the
there.
part-
She's not
part-
getting paid
that's
that
part
much.
of- No, you can go up to that salary. That's if I wanted a full-time. Yeah.
See, if she gets paid that much for taking minutes, I want to take minutes.
But her pay comes out of that line.
Yes, her pay comes out of that.
Correct.
We've had a second deputy in the budget for a few
Several
years,
years.
haven't we?
This is the second year.
Yeah. Yeah. We just got to talk Phyllis into training someone new. She needs someone. She really does need someone.
It's just finding that right person.
Finding that right person and
Taking the time to train
her
them.
having the patience to train them and still get her own work done, so. All right, next page is the Law Department. That would be Mr. Baker over here. And as you see on there, the top line, 52% of the law comes from the Law Department, and the balance of that comes from Plan Commission and
We moved from the Plan Commission's budget. They have legal services in there too. We moved it to Tim's miscellaneous consulting fees. Since he's doing less with the Stellar and the Greater Decatur, we
Right.
took that out and moved it to the Law
It
Department.
seems like all of a sudden things have been popping on the city side, so... I'm sorry. So I asked Phyllis to consider moving some of that out of plan and into the law department, so it just shifts it around and it reduces plan by the same amount.
I just want to thank you, Tim. I know Dwayne sat in that chair before you did, and he could have built the city a lot more, as could you. And we really appreciate
Yeah.
all that you do extra for what we pay you as city attorney.
That's okay.
Tim spends a lot of time working for the city. I know that. Phyllis knows that. I think most of the department heads realize that as well. So, yes, thank you. Next up is the police. Greg? Under personal services, Greg, you have down one additional patrolman. Is that a wish list?
Yes, yes.
That's a wish list.
That's that one extra that would put us the one over what we had then. Last year I had 2 additional, and that would put us up to filling in for breaking the season.
And then you had $15,000 additional, I think, for overtime?
Yes.
Now, why so much extra overtime next year?
That's just the way caseload's been coming up. We're more and more involved with, the officers are more aggressive, we have more cases,
We have more semis going across the road?
everything, you name it, across the board. It's not that we would use that much, but I would like to have
Budget
it
it.
there in case we need it.
Okay.
So, it's
Yes.
increasing $15,000 for more time, or why is it?
It's actually
It's going from
increasing
50 to-
5,000.
It's going from 40 to 55.
You got 55, I've got 45 on mine.
Remember you told me to change that to 55? You
I
said,
did.
yeah, you've got plus 15,000.
Okay.
So it was 40.
I thought
It looks like-
you told
I
me
guess
to
it
do
looks
that.
Yeah, it was written wrong. He just wrote in the amount, he wanted to increase it in that box, and it should
Yeah.
say 40.
Oh, I see, that says plus 15,000.
Yeah.
It's not 14.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's what I said.
yeah,
I'm like,
that's a big increase. Yeah, last year was 40, this year would be 55, an increase of 15.
And there again, too, that would also be based on whether we could hire another person or not, and, I mean, it's all...
aren't we up 2 officers from where we were last year, or not?
No. Or even.
No, we're up 1, I think. Should be. Because we appropriated funding for 1 last year.
We have
You have 17
18.
still, or do you have 18?
We have 18.
Yeah, well, the last 2 we hired very close together. 1 was to replace... He replaced who? Julie.
Well, we replaced
Chris
Julie, and
Affolter.
we also replaced...
Chris Affolter, yeah.
Chris Affolter,
Yeah,
and
that-
before that, we replaced,
Julie.
what's his name? Spencer, thank you.
Tried to forget about that.
But then the additional one that we funded last year, that was Blaze, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you have down here an additional patrolman, and then elsewhere in here you have all the other benefits for that same patrolman, I assume.
I put it in common council.
She has it in common council because all the
FICA.
FICA and everything else comes out of common
So
council.
I think yours varies just a little bit from what I've got here because of the salaries and...
Or the longevity.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sorry, Greg, I think I forgot to give you a new copy. Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
going
so
off the
those
top.
numbers out to the side, I adjusted.
Yeah,
I added in
I'm going off
longevity,
the old
because they'll
copy
bump
here,
up
so-
this year, a couple of them.
And before we, even talk about the additional patrolman thing here, I have talked with Greg and asked Greg to add in some money for reserves, to get a reserve program started back up. So that you'll see that the new officer in reserve clothing, that amount is up. And somewhere else in here I saw something for reserves that you added.
It's the last page.
The last page.
I think. Yeah.
Guns for police reserves.
I think we moved it to the lower there.
Oh, okay. Yep, you moved that to Lowett.
And there is actually still some consideration to be done about that once we get, if and when we get the reserves going again. Under the old system, the reserves bought their own guns. I still want to have more buy-in for the reserves versus us just giving them things. So that would be more incentive for them to actually be more involved than say just, I can be in or I can be out. To be able to fund those from year to year, I'd like to have more buy-in from the reserves.
Wouldn't we want to do that the other way, though, to entice people to be reserved? Because, I mean, right now,
In what way?
well, right now we're having a hard time getting reserve police. Wouldn't it be better if we gave them some benefit to being a reserve rather than making them pay more to be a reserve?
Well, the thing of it is, though, we want people that want to volunteer. It's not just like it's going to be another job for them or something that would, most of the time, the reserves that we do get, unless there's somebody that just wants to volunteer, they're looking for a law enforcement career, especially if they're young on. And we would like to pick from those if we could. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But I've known from the past, though, that we put a lot into uniforms, that type of thing. There are details that they can work that they can also get extra money for if they want to. But we along with clothing allowance every year, that's a benefit, that they can purchase their uniforms and any other equipment that they may want or need. I don't really think that we need to.
How many people do we have on the
2.
reserve?
We're down to 2.
I mean, so
Just 2.
we're struggling to get people to...
We have not tried recently to add, and that's what we're
Because,
looking to do, is
we have all
to,
these events in town, and we're using the county's reserves to do some of these events. Or-
If we can, but no, we just didn't make them do. So.
yeah, the county has helped out with their reserves, like at the fireworks. They were there.
At one time, were there 10?
We had more than that, I believe. I think we had 12 at one time. I'm the last of the original reserves, and I'm thinking we had, well, I don't know, you may remember that. This is 1975, I think.
I'd like to see it get up.
And I think the last person we hired who was a reserve officer was Shay Bieber. And he was a reserve officer and went from that to, I mean, it's definitely a feather in their hat when they are interviewing for the full-time police job if they've been a reserve, it's to their advantage. So, but we haven't pushed it lately, and that's something that Greg and I have talked about we want to do.
But, yeah.
Well, 2 years ago, we gave him one additional officer and said, you can try again for the additional the next year, so.
We right
Here we
now are also, I don't know where we're at on that right now.
We haven't heard back.
We have applied for a grant for an additional person. We were only allowed for one, correct?
We only requested one.
Is that for the school?
No.
For
This is separate.
That's additional, but it would also have to be funded. They would fund them, what, for 3 years? And then we have to pick up after that.
It would be a shared cost for the first 3 years between the grant and the local police.
Do you know when that's supposed to be awarded? Okay.
We're kind of at their mercy.
Yeah, I know we've sent it in.
Well, what would the local portion be if, do you need to add that to the budget to cover it in case this comes through?
The guideline that they give you is they pay 75 and you pay 25. That's kind of based on what your pay is, what your benefits are, those kind of things. So it's kind of a sliding scale, depending on how many you request and what your payment, what the salary is and what the benefits are.
So should we budget for that grant? Should we budget for our share of that?
The 25%?
Well, wouldn't that,
Or
Well,
will it
wouldn't
go
that be
in
what's in here, that additional
Yeah.
patrolman?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
We-
know if
so
we're
that's
adding
what you're
someone,
saying.
you're
Correct.
saying,
We
okay,
could
you're
use
just
that for
using
that.
that. Okay,
Okay.
Use that for that.
all right.
If we don't get the grant, then they still want the additional
Need the
patrolman
full.
this way.
Right.
Okay, so, other than the additional patrolman and the reserves, Greg, I did notice one other thing, and that was over there under repairs and maintenance. You'd added $7,000. That was equipment, building, vehicle maintenance, city mechanic labor. Was there a reason for the additional $7,000?
Well, we now, because before we never paid for,
Tubby?
yeah, and now they're charged out by department.
Okay.
And so that's the reason that.
Okay.
to cover people.
That's
And
kind of-
even that is a guesstimate, because we never know what kind of repairs or how much we're going to, so.
Okay.
I kind of try to take an average.
That's what we kind of, I asked Phyllis that, and that's kind of what she'd assumed, so. So now, you have 18 total officers right now.
Yes,
You have, you and Mike,
yes,
I mean, you're included in the 18.
yes,
You have 2 detectives,
correct,
3 sergeants.
correct,
Sergeants each work a shift,
correct.
and then, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Half of what you have are either sergeants or on up. So it only leaves 9 patrolmen, and you have them split up right now. You have a little heavier on second shift, is that correct?
I don't know where they're at right now, my sergeants take care of that as far as.
I think, the last I knew, I talked to Jamie, it was a little, we had 1 extra maybe on the second shift and 1 less.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah,
And we have one in the academy, which is Blaze. He's in his 3rd or 4th week now.
and one's in the school most of the year.
Blaze is right now.
no, I mean
At the high school.
resource
Oh, high school,
officer.
yes, yeah, he will be, yes.
Yeah, cabinet.
So, yeah, that's what we said right there.
Council, discussion, I don't have a vote in this.
We've identified the need for 3 years. I would like to see the additional officer and hope we get the grant.
And if you get the grant, you'd like to use the money that Greg
Yes.
budgeted.
I'd assume, like to see though, if we were to add another officer, that the overtime would go down, but is that not the case?
Not necessarily, no. We're at the whim of what the cases bring in. What officers start with and they carry over. We're not in a position to where we can pass cases on from one officer to another.
A lot of it's
I
court
do
time.
want to commend Greg when it comes to the festivals, okay? We generally will see Greg, Mike, and 1 or 2 of the reserves. We have not been accumulating overtime by way of patrolling at festivals.
Most of your overtime's court.
It's court and it's also working the cases. Whether it's working over, like, toward the end of the shift, we get a hold of something, or whether we have reports that have to be done, or things for the court, or various things. I mean, it's mainly just in investigating the crime that they're on. It's not simply of those days are over where we just stop and write a ticket and it's gone. We're actually doing a lot of the work. We're doing more work than we ever used to because the detectives used to do a lot of the work that we do now, but we wouldn't be able to cover much of the stuff that we did before if it weren't for the officers going and doing it themselves. That's just how much better we're getting as years go on. And I might add that they're doing a great job at it too. So, drugs are more prevalent than they ever have been. That's the majority of our work. And that seems to be what's prevalent out there, whether it's from out of town or whether it's in town.
Mm-hmm.
What goes from a particularly supposed easy traffic stop can turn into a major drug bust. Whether it's a theft, whether it's drugs, whether it's the drugs is one of our big ones, right? Has been. Will be.
Unfortunately. Well, I'm not hearing any other support for or against or anything here, so any other comments? If not, Matt, you're welcome to put the motion on the floor for that, see if it dies or if it goes through.
For my budget?
For the additional patrolmen.
Okay.
I'll make it a motion to keep as the chief has proposed with one additional patrolman.
However, this could go towards the
Could go toward, yeah, okay, I guess.
Could be funded by the grant.
The way the motion would probably need to be said would be,
Is there an option?
if the grant does not come through, you would like to see one additional patrolman added regardless.
Correct.
Okay, I have
that motion.
I have that in the way of a motion from Matt. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Scott seconds that motion. Okay, any discussion before we vote? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Greg.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But I also would, the conversation about reserves.
Absolutely.
We really do need
Absolutely.
to build that.
Okay, Greg and I have been talking about that. It's going to happen. It's not going to be an easy thing to get it up and going, but
We want it to happen.
But,
Yep.
yeah.
Is there an age limit on reserves?
21.
Minimum.
are you 21 yet, Scott?
Oh, elder, at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
36?
35, isn't it?
You know what?
On reserves, I don't know.
Regular officer is 36, but I don't know about reserves now. I don't think there was.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. I'll find
Maybe
out.
75.
My dad.
They did
Bill Murray, better known as Barney
They did
Fife.
put a limit on police officers now.
Yeah, look at Carbon.
You got him drive around the golf cart.
And it's like
It's cute, I tell everybody, boy, you know what, I'm on that golf cart, a lot of people know me. They either know me or they're going.
Waving at
Put on their seatbelt.
you. Or waving at
Greg, now in addition, I told you to be prepared to tell me what you think you may need for IT, security, and for whatever the next thing is, whatever you call it, communications.
you.
Yeah, because you've got something in your budget now. Do we?
Yes, you're correct. Right now, under, well, I'll give you the figures right off the bat first of what I need. For 2018, for mobile data, I need 38,010. So I would, and that was a pretty close figure, but I don't know whether that's exact. So I would say
That's fine.
38.1. Okay. For the IT, email, internet, and phone, I would need 14,531. I rounded that off to 15. You can look at that any way you want. That's just for 2018. So
Right.
giving you those, that's a total of 52,541. That's with actual figures.
53.
So 53.
Jeez.
Under 429, or excuse me,
Under where, Greg?
I'm sorry,
What'd you say, under where?
we're looking at 439. My
439.
proposed
Second
budget,
page, bottom line.
I have 15,000 in there already, which could go towards that, to replace, so subtracting that from whatever's left there. And also, I have up in 432, 8,000 for phone system and internet. So that's, between those two, that's,
That actually takes you down to 30,000.
yeah, that's 23,000 right there.
Sounds better than 53.
So, and those can be replaced by what we're looking at here.
Okay, so right now, we're just, for budgeting purposes only, if we add 30 over and above what you had submitted, which was 1,303,632.
15 and 8, 23, yes, 30,000. Now, what we want to put that in, or where we want to take that from is that's something to be figured out yet. But,
Right. Yep, we can figure that later.
Yeah, I just need dollar figures.
So what we would,
Total dollar figure.
what we would be changing your total budget estimate to would be 1,333,632, adding 30,000.
Could you say that again?
1,333,632.
Thank you.
Okay? And like I said, that's, in the perfect world, if we have to go with everything with the county, as you said, which we probably will, so.
Well, again, I mean, if we had more time to look at this, it's one thing, but I look at it in a way that, from the very beginning, when we went to combined dispatch and all that, I would rather take the one step forward than the 3 steps back. And I really do believe that's where it would be. It would be quite a bit to go back. It would be to go one step forward, even though we're paying up front. But at least we'll be able to maintain after that.
Okay, do you have anything else?
No, I do not.
I just had one question. You said you're going to you have 20 computers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you need a license for every one of them?
Yes.
If you have your whole staff, do you have all 20 people logged on at once?
No, but that's the way they charge you, is by the number of people that would use, each station, each computer would be individually. Yeah.
So they're selling you something for a computer, not a license usage. It's like at my work, we have like 10 licenses, and if you log on, you take one. So if 10 of us log on, then the 11th person can't.
Well, he did say there could be ways that you could tweak that. However, with each job that we have, it wouldn't be prudent to say have one computer or that 2 or 3 people use.
As we said here a second ago, there's 9 of you are not in cars out patrolling,
Yeah,
okay?
that's correct.
Plus the 2 admin people. So 11 of them are at stations, okay?
So they would be entering in the RMS,
Right.
or dealing with the internet. So they're on different.
Now, when it comes to the patrolman, whether that could be done, that's something you can check into. It's still, let's leave this figure in here, but it's something that's worthy of checking
You couldn't,
into.
because you have one person in each vehicle.
Does the computer go with the vehicle, or does the computer go
No,
with the guy?
computer goes with the guy.
With the guy, okay.
Because ours are just all networked, and just when you log on, the computer says, I'm taking this license, and I'm using it now, no matter which computer you're at. Nice.
Right.
That's worth checking.
No, I could, yeah.
Depends on what system you're using.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are questions that
some
you think
sell their
ask.
software just as he's described it.
Yeah.
Others, you buy 10 licenses and then the 11th person you kick off.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how they sell
only
it out.
20.
I can check with
Yep.
them though.
Good question. Okay. Greg, thanks a lot. And
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank all of your department. They put their lives on the line every time they go get in that car, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Fire!
No, there's not.
Hmm?
No, there's not a fire.
Fire!
Get another page, get out another meeting.
Now, Les operates a little different than some of the others. You know, Les likes to write everything out.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. When I was skipping shit.
So I can just go to that page and...
You want to go ahead and just kind of touch on all yours there, Mr. Les?
411, I just did the 2% wage and appropriate longevity as it is incurred by the individuals, and added a little bit overtime for the same to reflect what the overtime average, what that would do to that. And one thing I did add, if you notice in 411, where we normally would have me, a deputy chief, and two captains, I added a captain, and simply added so that I could, if I chose to, have 3 captains. My goal with that would be, I really would like to, and I don't know who that might be, but that, so I just took base and added 7%, because that's what a captain would be. So whatever.
Right now, the captains are in charge of, you have a captain of...
I have a training captain, I have a inspection captain, and what I would like to do is have a technical or a special operations captain that would take that portion of the responsibility for, like,
Hazmat stuff?
hazmat, technical rescue. Probably not hazmat, I'd probably leave that with Jeff, but the technical rescue stuff, the high angle, confined space, and part of that was driven by a recent incident where, you know, we need to monitor that equipment, training and some of that stuff a little better, and it's just more than what one individual or what training captain can do. So I would also push some training responsibility to that person. But
Would this create a possible pathway for your replacement at some point?
I would hope,
Okay.
and it's, you know, since it's just on base, it would be on the base, so it's 7% of base, so it's just $29.20, and I just took a base salary. You know, it could fluctuate a little bit.
Okay.
So with that, really through account 423, there really wasn't too much. 429, that's going to change a little bit because of our earlier discussion and about the flags and poles. That would probably be a good place to put that, 2,800, so I'll correct that.
So add an additional 2,800
That would make that 12,400.
flags and poles.
Then a couple other things that came up today that I don't have in my justification is with mobile data, which I'll talk about at the end. I would have some air card service that I would, and I think it's going to run around 30 a device, which would be about $1,440 for the year. And we have to do a restructuring with my phone, so I'll have to adjust 432 a little bit to reflect that, and I don't think there would be anything else. We completed a lot of projects. I mean, for those of you that have stopped in, I mean, we did a lot of concrete work out behind. We actually, not too long ago, redid our outside stairs, the Bilco door, and so I reduced 442, we just really simply have done a lot of remodeling over the last 444, what I have here, Phyllis and I already changed that, so I would need to reflect a change. I didn't get a chance to do that. I actually had the county's mobile data stuff in general, and Phyllis and I's discussion was that I should probably move that to Lowit. And so, if we move on to the Lowit portion, I had intended on a lot less on Lowit this year, but as things have transpired with the county's mobile data and a couple other things, we did recognize that we need to do some upgrades to some technical rescue equipment, ropes and so on, and as Phyllis included that email.
Scott, what you'll find out is their toys are really expensive.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is.
Yeah. So there will be some changes to Lowit that I'll need to make from tonight. As Greg said, moving forward with this, the county's going to move on this mobile data.
Yep. How much do we need to add for the fire total for the RMS and otherwise?
For me, it would be around. I never like to use the small change, but I'd say around 14,000. But I'm also going to need to address the phone system. So let's see, it'd be for what Shane projected, 13,500, which I had already budgeted 8, so I'd need to increase that. I think the best is to do that in Lowit. If it's not spent for that, it reverts back, and so that I think with the phones, probably would need to add in another about 7,700, and the internet is minimal for me. Figuring on 10 devices that connect at 2310 a device, so that's pretty
200
minimal. That would.
So just make the phones otherwise an even 8,000.
So I've given a couple days to make these adjustments where they would need to go, but I want to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Okay. Any questions, comments from council? Okay. If not, thank you, Les.
Would it serve better to move all these bodies for the phones and stuff into Lowit, which police and fire in the majority, or does it make any sense to you?
We'll defer to you.
We can. Yeah, if that has
Would there be
anything
an
to do...
advantage to it or a disadvantage, I guess?
The advantage would be it's not on property tax.
I couldn't hear you, Tyler. Say it again.
I just wondered if there's advantage or disadvantage to all this phone upgrade for the police and fire to take that out below it, rather than
The advantage is if you pay it out in the general fund, that's on a property tax, where the others is income tax.
Right, Lowit has to be used for public safety,
And
so
that
you're
is for
limited in
public
terms of what you
safety.
can use, where general funds is much more flexible in terms of what you could use. Man, that'd probably be smart.
And this would be public safety.
Right.
At least with regard to fire and police.
Mhm.
Therefore,
That makes
it's
sense.
different.
It'd be easier to track too.
Okay.
You can make that happen.
Yeah, I can.
Phyllis look at that and, yeah.
Are you, is
Did
that...
you hear what we started
are you
talking
opposed to
about?
that, Les?
Well, I would like to hear the question again, I guess.
Is there a benefit or advantage or disadvantage to using these phone systems, paying them out of Lowit, rather than...
The equipment, because kind of our agreement when Lowit became available for us, and it is for public safety, was that we could budget it because the amount of money is going to come to the city, to public safety anyways. The money, if we don't use it for the earmark project or whatever, it simply reverts back into our account that the public safety limit. So it's actually can build to where don't be surprised within 3 or 4 years we come to you and ask for a $700,000 truck. That money will hopefully be there.
Other than debt service and that type of thing, we knew starting out when the loan came available to us that a large portion of it was going to be going to the fire department because of the cost of their equipment. So we were planning for the future down the road. So anything that we don't use kind of goes through that.
Yeah, but the truth is, this is a big hit on the front end for this radio communication stuff we're talking about with the county. We're talking about 50 grand, right? Year one.
Yeah.
Year one. The rest of it we could maintain and budget for, but first year we probably ought to take a little off the top of it because that's focused at those two departments.
Because 2 years ago, before we would have had it, we would have been cutting possibly personnel to do that if we decided which one would have, you know, or not got an additional person because the general fund simply would not support some of these projects anymore.
Okay. Good point. Next budget item is for the City Hall. And I think the only thing that we have added there was additional money for HVAC maintenance. The people that we were using, were they the original installers, Kurt? On the
It's
air conditioning?
Or Felker.
The ones who were doing our maintenance work, they didn't know what they were doing. They hadn't worked on one this size, whatever, this type. Yeah, and we cut them loose, and we've got a new contractor for maintenance of our HVAC, and that's the additional cost that we're going to have incurred. So other than that, City Hall expenses remain the same. Any questions or comments on City Hall? If not, moving on. Building and Zoning Department, I'm sorry. Kurt has done very little, added very little to his budget there. He's only up 1%, 1.17%, and it looks like that comes just a couple of different places, actually.
It was basically salary, and then I upped my vehicle maintenance by $1,000.
Yep.
Reason being is it's getting a little more wear and tear than what it used to.
Roger was hard on that thing.
Yeah. It's not getting as pampered as what he had. But I plan on going to a few more code seminars. Actually, I've been going with Tim Ballman to South Bend, which I drove the last time, and we're going again this month to cover NSPA sprinkler systems. Tomorrow I'm out, and I'm going to be going to Napanee for a code seminar that I'm getting CEUs for. So I got to have so many CEUs every so many years to keep my license.
Okay. So I think you've done a good job here in keeping that in line. Any questions from council? Nope. If not, going on to the next one, that's parking control, which we currently don't have a parking control person, but we would like to keep that in the budget.
My question on that, though, it bumped up $591.
What, the parking control, or?
Yeah. Bill's got a comment.
Bill?
We do have parking control.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Just don't say we don't have any parking control.
We have parking control.
Media, scratch
We don't
that.
have a parking
Scratch that comment, Bill. And the police. And the police. Yeah, I see a lot of citations getting brought in here from the police for parking violations. Why, what's up that much, Bill?
Probably the 2%.
2% raise? Okay, it's just a 2%
Do we
raise.
need to put the, if nobody's, I mean, that's, I mean, it's not a big amount,
We
but
just
it
put
is,
it in all the budgets, so.
but I don't see a purpose of
Strike it out.
adding $691 to something that's not.
Agreed. $591. Okay, take out the 591, and then it would remain the same as it was last year. The next thing up is the sanitation department. And again, Jeremy's budget on the sanitation side, up 1.76%. And with a 2% raise increase, that's pretty doggone good, Jeremy.
A lot of it's just market increases, fuel, a little bit on the disposal side, not a lot. It's a workable budget, and I normally try to keep it about that.
Amazing how you keep your pencil so sharp.
I did have one comment that I thought maybe you should add a little bit more, and I'll ask Melissa for her advice on this. You had $500 down for recycling public information items. Is that going to be enough, Melissa?
I did run a little over on that this year. So
We might want to add some more to that.
We probably...
We're not getting the recycling participation that we would like to have, and we're going to have to put the word out a little more. Should we double that to 1,000?
I think so. The billboard ate up that and then some.
Yeah.
When, I guess since we're talking about recycling, are we still going to be getting a report on how well it's
We
going?
need to do that,
Mhm.
probably the next meeting or two.
Yep, it was September of last year that we started it. So,
Like
yes.
you said, you give it a year and then review it at
Yep.
that time. We have, September 12th will be 1 year. So, we need to have a discussion.
So other than adding $1,000 for promotionals for the recycling, anybody see anything else that, kind of hard to pick over such little bitty additions he's added, so, good job. Anything else? If
Thank
not,
you, Jeremy.
Yep. Thank you, Jeremy. Going on to Common Council. You guys are expensive.
Yeah.
And the FICA, Medicare, civil perf, health, dental insurance, all that is all the general accounts, all lumped together into that, so.
Now,
I did
10%
increase the insurance 10% because our renewal is August 1st. I didn't think we'd ever go higher than 10%.
she's got that on the high side, she thinks.
And then FICA and Medicare, we've been short this year and last year, so I kind of had to bump that up quite a bit, so other than that. Oh, and then the GIS specialist, we don't really know what Ethan's pay, his benefits are going to be until the beginning of the year, so I just increased it 10%.
And then on the last page, under buildings, we have the building improvements, City Hall, and there's a $350,000 there. It says that's up 175. That's carrying over the 175 that we had in there for this year.
So that is encumbering what we have this
Yes.
year
I
to...
just bumped it, doubled it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you understand what that 350, where that's coming from. And then down at the other capital outlays, $180,000. That is part of the Resolution 2015-7, the $750,000 that we approved 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I picked up, there's several different locations.
Different places that she's taking it from,
to
yeah.
pull the whole thing together.
Right. So that's one of them. 100, you might make a note of that. That's 180, and we can add them all together as we go. So that's where the Common Council changes really came from. The total percentage of increase for Common Council was 20.4, which is the big one. But like I said, a lot of that is under the City Hall building improvements and capital projects.
Also in this budget, we always repair the street lights, poles, and buildings. We have $50,000 in there. Do you think that's enough, Jeremy? No. Because I know we haven't done it for several years.
A couple months here.
I wonder-
how far behind you are on it, but
Okay.
anything that you can put towards that, I would definitely be adding. So
Where are we at on there?
That repairs and maintenance.
On the second page.
Okay, 50.
And
Streetlights,
is
poles,
the
and
repairs
bridges.
and maintenance, the new installs, or is that just repairs?
This is just repairs, but we do also have, for streetlights, another 15,000. Do you think 15's enough for this new one?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's...
But you think for the repairs, it should be higher than 50?
No, I think 50 would be fine.
You think that's okay?
So leave them both the same?
You think 50 will do it
On the repairs.
on the repairs?
On the repairs.
Well, and then the 15 is okay?
Because what we're doing with that is, and I just kind of briefly talked to Kurt about it a while back, is we're actually going through an asset management plan for all the streetlight poles. We are very behind on streetlight poles.
Explain the asset management plan for the benefit of everyone.
And what I want to do is I want to bring the asset management plan in once we get everything situated, once we get it finalized for the streetlights. I will actually have everything on here, which is all the curb ramps, all the street ratings, all the everything, where you just pull it up and you see how everything's rated. I can put it up on the screen once Ethan gets everything finalized.
I was just going to say, did Ethan
That'd be cool.
load all that?
Yeah, he's got everything pretty well loaded and figured out, but
Cool.
you need to get very aggressive on streetlight poles the next few years.
Has AEP given us anything yet?
They dropped off some today. They're going to have some more. So I talked to Tom about it, and Tom's pretty excited about it, so he said any little bit's going to
If I could mention that, just give AEP a little plug, AEP or I&M, whatever we want to call them. With all the new poles they've been putting in around town, Jeremy was telling me we need to budget for some new poles. So I called Kim Sobrowski, our AEP rep, and said, hey, with all these poles you're replacing, some of them aren't that bad. Some of them you just had to put a taller or a bigger pole in, whatever. I said, if they're good enough to be reused, what are you doing with them? If you're not doing anything, can we have them? So she checked into it, and yeah, they're getting us some poles.
Just to give you an idea what Roger always tried to do over the last several years is he would try to replace 10 streetlight poles per year, or roughly around 10. It's been about 10 years since that's been done. So if you add up what should be to the years, you can see. And
We'll take all they'll give us.
That wasn't getting ahead. That was just maintaining. So obviously you can see that we have some real serious issues that once we get past budgets, I'd like to sit down and talk to you guys about how we attack this.
Are you talking wooden poles, Chairman?
Yeah.
How much does a new wooden pole cost?
You're about, what is it, 1,300 with
I
everything
think
roughly.
that's what you said.
They're not cheap. It's a big,
But
it's a tree. You're buying a tree.
That's what the LED head, the new wire, the new pole. We have some poles that are falling down. I'll be very frank with you, that we need to do something. So, just move on.
Okay, that was common council. Then we got Jeremy again, and it's about the, I guess it's the operations, public works, MVH Street. And there, he explains it on the front page, basically a couple things. One is to bump Debbie Bradburn's salary up a little bit, getting her up to where she deserves to be. She's doing a great job, been a good asset to Jeremy.
That's not top pay yet either. That's just bringing her up a little bit, and then probably in another year bring her up a little bit more. So.
Second request is to purchase a tandem axle dump truck that the Adams County Highway is expecting to replace next year. It's a larger truck that we can use for removal of concrete and when we're installing water main and sewer repairs, and also this would help us when it comes to stockpiling stone. We can purchase this truck for $7,000, and a new one would run $145,000. Kind of a no-brainer.
Well, what I did is, see, I worked for the highway department many years ago. And I spec 4 of these trucks, 2 of the big ones, 2 of the small ones when I worked down there. Right after I got
started. Very good truck, very reliable truck. It's kind of the older generation. I've been talking with Lonnie, Kathy, and the commissioners. I've been pondering this for a couple of years. Just periodically ask them what they're getting rid of. And this one truck is still in pretty good shape, except for rotation. We can't go wrong with this. It has an underbody scraper on it that we can scrape in the wintertime, scrape off some slop and such. We're probably going to use this a lot more than what you would ever really imagine. It's a good starter.
Okay. And the third request was replace a new salt box, which is $12,500 to replace an aging one that we currently have. Other than that, I think the increases are minimal, and the MVH, he did have a total of a 5% increase over last year's budget, but again,
Getting something for it.
We're getting
Insurance we
some
always
for it.
fall short on. Insurance was bumped up a little bit, and the rest of it's market increases for fuel and
Yep.
oil and such.
Comments or questions for Jeremy?
Like I said, he keeps his pencil sharp.
Yep, good job, Jeremy.
And then the next one is also Jeremy, it just happens to be the Parks Department. The Parks Department, he's got additional equipment due to additional areas that the Parks Department's maintaining. Equipment would be is it an ATV or UTV?
It's some of them call ATV, some of them call them UTVs.
Okay.
It's technically going to be an ATV.
And it's similar to what the fire department purchased last year. This piece of equipment would be used for snow removal around the city buildings, St. Mary's Nature Preserve, Madison Street improvements and such. Also allows to better maintain the parks and be able to utilize this as a general maintenance piece of equipment. Does that price that you have for that include a blade?
Yes.
Okay.
Z-blade and a broom.
Blade and a broom.
For all the work that we're doing downtown, you know, we need to purchase some equipment over the next few years to properly take care of that. The park money's never great. You know, the revenues coming in aren't ever the greatest. So we just need to be a little smarter with some of the equipment. If it's possible, you know, we could possibly share it with someone, but I just wanted to throw it out that especially with the Madison Street project, we're going to need something here.
Yeah, you're right.
Very
You're right.
short term.
And the other thing he had on here was a salt box for the tool cat, so we'd be able to salt the trail and other hard-to-get-to areas. So they're both good purchases.
Mowers, you buying a new mower?
We buy new mowers
Every year.
Okay.
And more than likely, next year at budget time, I will come to you and probably request additional mower for all these flood properties that we're purchasing and additional areas. Sue, bless her heart, she does a wonderful job keeping up, but there's times that, you know, she's spread pretty thin with what she has, with the mowers that she has, so. We may have to bump up one mower and one person.
Have you ever looked into the leasing of them?
What we do is we turn them back every year. It's like a lease.
So, okay, sure.
Through Hildy's.
Yep.
I think it's less than $2,000 a mower. It's basically all we pay for a industrial zero-turn Exmark mower.
So, yeah, basically you are leasing.
Flipping them every year for $2,000. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Jeremy, those
Yeah.
flood buyout areas, are they still going to be finished off? Are they?
We have to mow them, we have to maintain them as green space. That's the agreement that we have with Maumee River Basin.
But some of them still aren't like seeded or whatever yet.
Yeah,
I know you're busy, but
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a few of them.
Give them time, no more weeds.
Yeah, driveways pulled out and stuff, but.
Any questions for Jeremy on the Park and Rec side? Total increase for Park and Rec was 7.5%. So, okay, good deal on that one. The next two, fire and police pension, there's nothing we can do to control that. It is what it is. And we can kind of think, in my opinion, just skip right through those. And then we go to CCD, Cumulative Capital Development. And again, in there, under the line, about halfway down, you see $150,000 to go toward Resolution 2015-7, which is, again, part of that $750,000. And Matt, I don't know if you read in the minutes, but, our 500, it's not 500,000, but our $2.5 million that we set aside for the capital improvements for 5 years, since we haven't used all of it in years 1 and 2, we've increased next year up to 750, and $250,000 of that is to go toward Hannah Nutman. So we want to get the Hannah Nutman project rolling. So, any questions on CCD? Phyllis, any comments on that?
No. I mean, the bond interest went down a little bit for next year, but that's about it. The other stuff I just kept the same. I mean, we can increase it or decrease it. It's up to you guys if you want to budget for anything else in there. Hopefully we'll get more revenue in the CCD fund this year, or next year, since we're reestablishing the rate.
If not, moving on to the LOIT, the public safety side of things. Les has pretty much already covered his. And you guys saw some of the things that he put into his. I mean, it's just very expensive. Toys, ropes, whatever.
I would suggest putting that lump sum into the fire roll up for this year.
Right.
I agree.
A lot of our equipment in now in 10 years. Gear and all that is $500.
Okay.
A lot of equipment with a 10-year shelf life.
So, suggestion is to add the lump sum of the IT and radio, whatever, what all was involved in that phones, to the LOIT side of things here.
Right.
Any discussion there? Everybody good with that? Okay. And the next one is the LOIT public safety for the police. And I think you want to make the same suggestion there, Tyler?
Yeah,
I agree too.
Phyllis will do her magic and make that happen.
Yep. Any other comments on the LOIT public safety for the police? If not,
So, do you want me to remove what they have in their general budget and move it all to LOIT?
if you can, if that's possible, if you can do it that way. Okay?
That for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of suggestion as to where we should put some of that.
You stop and see Phyllis, and she'll work that out with you.
Okay.
I don't think we're taking anything away from the fire truck situation, Les. You still got money. We're banking that money for the ladder truck and fire truck that you're going to need. But when you get a capital expenditure like this, it's a front-end loaded deal, man. We got to use that, don't you think?
Well, I think,
As long as we keep remembering that we're saving that money for big equipment purchases down the road. But this is kind of a smack right in the mouth on the front end.
well, when do we find out, Phyllis, when the disbursement, or when does public safety LOIT fund? Is it quarterly or?
We get it monthly. We get our distribution monthly. But what our estimate will be for next year, is that what you're saying? Yeah. When I get that, I'll let you know what that is.
Because we do get an annual estimate of what it's going to be. So I think, my thought is that, I think we're still banking a good portion of that, I believe.
And this is really a one-time thing here we're talking about.
I think early on, wasn't the goal that we bank at least $100,000 a year or something towards that?
I think that was a suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is local road and street fund, which,
Crack filling?
yep.
Sorry, I'll have change days.
Crack micro.
Is that still going to be
So
Didn't go up?
It works.
Okay. Next is riverboat revenue. No, it's not. Local Law Enforcement Continuing Ed, LLECE. And with that there, is that,
What that is
it's up 5,000.
our revenues that go into that is the gun permits, and next year we'll be putting the golf cart registrations in there, accident reports, and there's one more thing that they, Greg, talking back there. He just wanted to increase that. You wanted to increase your local law continuing ed for training, wasn't it 5,000?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. All right. And that was, Greg and I have talked about that. And, some of our training we may need to do a little investment in, so we wanted to add a little bit to that. So that's why it's up 5,000. All right. Next then would be riverboat revenue sharing. And
The only thing I changed in there is our bond payment, which the interest is a little less for next year. But I kept the capital improvements in there for 1,000. Usually we spend that on...
100,000.
100,000. We usually spend that for, we can spend it for basically anything, but normally it's for utility improvements. We've used it for stormwater, we've used it for sewer, so that's what that's for.
Okay. And then we have the rainy day. And that one there,
That's part of the capital project.
well, the first thing, the 125 was Jeremy's put in for the community crossings grant, and 125,000 would be our 25% city share. That's what 125,000 of the increase is. Then the other... Oh, because of its 2 years?
Yeah, correct.
Yep. And then the other... What am I missing here?
Right here.
Capital project, okay, 250,000 would go into the Resolution 2015-7.
Right.
Okay, so that's the third place that we're taking some from, and there will still be one more. Next is the CCI, and I think that that is exactly the same, no changes there, nor need there be any. And then the Lowett Special Distribution,
This is restricted funds, only for street maintenance and improvements, and there's only 23,000 left in there, so if Jeremy wants to make any maintenance repairs.
was that for paving, or what was that for?
This was
Jim?
that one-time,
That's the
correct?
balance of the one-time distribution.
yeah.
Now, going forward, the MVH distributions are going to be higher. Local road and street's going to be higher, and then you're going to be playing with the wheel tax money in 18 that we don't know for sure.
Right, which we
all the
still need to
details
wrestle
on.
with
So,
that one.
Starting now, you're starting to see the revenues coming in a little higher. In 18, they will be, not sure what the percentage was now.
There is, I'll get the...
But it's quite a bit higher of the money that's going to be coming in for paving projects and such, so.
Any other comments on that? And then that takes us down to the last one, which is the seated. And in our seated, she has several things listed there, which gives a grand total. 170,000 of that is the fourth thing going toward capital projects, and that 170 added to the 580 from the first three gets us up to our 750. We got 85,000 for flood mitigation, $50,000 facade program. Our 13% of our seated distribution goes to Adams County Economic Development, 45,000. We got the 50/50 sidewalk program, 50,000. Connected Careers, 25,000. That needs to stay in there, right, Craig? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anything I missed? I don't know, it's probably...
Well, we'll let you know after we figure that out. Okay.
And
Thanks,
at the
department
end,
heads.
towards the end of this year, around November, we will make a CETA plan, a 2-year CETA plan with our,
Which a lot of this is already...
yeah, 18's kind of done, but we'll have to make plans for 19. So we'll pass an ordinance to do that. You might want to think about where you want to put your money.
agenda? So now, having said all that, again, the budget, I can't actually give you the budget tonight because we're going to have to add in all these other little things. Before we did this, the total funds with the tax rates,
8.2.
8,285,119, and that is up 6.25%.
He's got it somewhere.
Yeah, I think you got that on your copy there that we gave you.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep. All right?
Yeah, that's what starts out.
Thank you, department heads, for being so conservative as you put together your budgets. Council and I all really appreciate that. That is the last thing on the agenda for this evening that I have. Now, Tim, you say you don't have anything? Phyllis? Okay, I really don't have a mayor's report, other than I will report that today got an email from the NDOT people saying that Thursday or Friday, Phase 3 will take effect on the NDOT project, 224 project. They wouldn't narrow it down to a firm date. It all depends on what the weather does in the next day or two. They have to put some sod down. If they get rain, it may delay it a day. So if we don't get rain, will probably be Thursday. If we get rain, it'll probably be Friday. But that's when East Monroe Street will open back up, Stratton will open back up. However, 224 from East Monroe Street on out to Jackson Street will be closed. And Jackson Street, beyond the mulch entrance on Jackson Street, will be closed. North Adams Drive will be closed. Ogg Street will be closed. Ogg Street will be open to pedestrian traffic. And that's, otherwise, it's going to be East Monroe Street, U.S. East Monroe Street, U.S. Highway East Monroe Street. I know.
Is that the extension that goes out past the junior high to the Pickler, or...
Bad football field there, yes. East Monroe Street.
Getting out tonight, I'm going out. Mom,
Everybody going to schools and have to take their kids out East Monroe Street and come in the back entrance. Unless they live east of town, they could come in from the east. The barricades will still stay right where they are on 224 out by the dental office back in there. But you can go around the barricades and come in by the administration building. And that will remain open for the homes that are right in there, and also for, what's the name of the business? The gas station, D&D Time Saver. Yes.
It's gonna,
So,
it will be.
that's all I have to say. How about department heads Les?
That's really elevated. It will be.
Kevin's already shaking his head. Got everybody shaking their head. Jeremy, you haven't shaken your head yet. You got something?
We did apply for the community crossings grant for the portion of Winchester Street from Elm all the way to Lime Street for sidewalk replacement, ADA improvements, and we're paving markings. Hopefully in about 2 or 4 weeks.
Melissa will
we
have
should
that.
know if we get the grant. If we do get it, we will have to bid it by, I think, April or May. We'll have to get out of this. Cross your fingers, be a great project, if we can get the money for that, so I'm hopeful we're here by the end of the month.
I think that maybe Don, you shook your head no, but I think you ought to give a real quick
Yeah, if you want me to.
master drive Yeah, Master Drive, they're doing, they did the final taps today, they're doing the hookups at Lewis and Mitts tomorrow. We've got about two more to do after that. That'll be done, where the city is removing street curbs, asphalt, driveway approaches right now. We have an excavator, we leased for a month to do that. And Washington Street, it won't get paved until until the asphalt people come, I assume.
Trenches will get paved. I'm not certain that it will get surfaced this year. There's some additional work that
Okay,
need to be
all right.
completed.
Those trenches are getting kind of deep again. We might want to pay a little attention to them with some stone.
What's going to happen to that pipe that's up in the middle of the...
Be gone this week.
Okay.
That's a test pipe.
Is that the test pipe? Okay.
Mr. Carbuck, you have anything?
Nothing, no.
Ann? Melissa, I think you have some things. I think you and I, at least you better have at least one thing for something kicking off tomorrow.
Tomorrow, our Patron SD campaign goes live. It's our crowdfunding project for the Madison Street Plaza. A reminder, for every dollar you give, the state will match you up to $50,000. So if we raise $50,000, we get $50,000. It's a great deal
Absolutely.
for everybody. We'll have it live online starting tomorrow morning. You can give online any time of the day if you have $1 or $8 or $100. We also have an option if you want to give offline. You call here at City Hall and we can make sure that your donation gets registered on our money meter. And
Do you have that web page that you can share with the media?
yeah. And IHCDA sends out the press release, but they want to control that, so
That's not up to you,
that.
right? Uh-huh.
They won't look good.
The website is patronsd.com/Madison Street Plaza. Like I said, that'll go live tomorrow morning. And part of the webpage is we have a great video that was shot by Drew Daragowski and some of his students in the Belmont TV and radio program. It's really nice. So.
Say that website one more time.
Patron.
You spell
I'll write it
patronicity.
down for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bots, we'll need all your help we can promoting this thing, so. Yeah. All right. Tim, you did have one other thing, didn't you?
I do. I just want to thank Phyllis, because I know how much time and effort she puts into doing this budget, so
Thank you,
she does a great job.
She does.
Yes, she does.
Well done, Phyllis.
She's always on top of it.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't know, she's quick to find out.
Two quick things to say, if you don't mind. Thursday evening at 6:30, where the Rotarians are going to celebrate their 100th anniversary with the unveiling of the statue, bell. The bell. Is that what you wanted to talk about? I'm sorry.
No, I just came to sit in.
Okay. And then also that evening, they're sponsoring a show for the Thursday night summer concert series, which will be Corey Cox, and they'll be here at 7 o'clock, ready to roll. Thank you. I'll just invoice.
Any other comments from council?
I don't know who to tell it to, but I just noticed when I was walking the other day, the new sidewalk across from the Legion Park, I don't know if everybody's noticed it, but it's sunk, so one side of it's settled, so it's like has a lip about this big. It's like failed, so I don't know how that gets repaired, but since it's brand new, it should probably be fixed.
Yep. They'll check and see who did it for sure, and probably they'll take care
I
of it.
didn't trip on it, but I could have.
I would have fell down had I even just seen it.
Motion to pay the claims.
I have a motion to pay the claims.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay the claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and a second. Thank you. All in favor? Again? Opposed, the same? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Back, yeah.